I really need to stay out of these thrift stores because I keep finding gadgets that tend to follow me home, and they all require some sort of repair, as we found out with this one. Initially it worked, and then it didn't. So this is a kit clock that I picked this up like for a song a while back. I think I paid $5 for it, but it's now decided that it doesn't want to work. It just sits there and goes back and forth. The motor goes back and forth like this. So how's that saying go again? A broken clock is right twice a day. Well, that's this one. I'm going to take this one apart and see whether I can get this one to run properly. So we're going to, just to protect the glass, I'm going to take the glass off the front, because this is actually a piece of glass, which is kind of cool. That's why I think that's the coolness of this clock, is that it's actually a piece of glass. Take out the little washers there that hold it in place, and we'll just put the end caps back on just so that they don't get lost. And I'm just going to take the glass piece and put it somewhere where it won't get damaged. Now, I did pick this up at the second-hand store. I just haven't shown it yet because, well, it worked. So because it was working, I didn't feel the need to show it off. I was probably going to show it off in a video at some point, but because it was working, I just hung it up on the wall and I kind of ignored it. But then I noticed that it was sitting there dancing like this. See, this is supposed to go one direction only. When it's operating properly, the motor turns and you get the gears that spin like that. They don't turn that fast, obviously, but these gears on the front are just for the effect. Gives you that steampunk look. These are just plastic gears and they do nothing. There's no loading or anything on these. These just turn like that. There's another gear on the back, which is actually the gear that's driven, that does the time, and that's this one back here. And this is the one that actually moves the hands through these other gears at the back. So these are the gears that operate the minute hand, and then there's a reducing gear here, and then the hour hand. And you set the time by, you can set the time by turning this gear on the back, you see. That's what you use to set the time. And it just slips. There's a clutch on this gear here. Anyway, the concern on this is the motor is doing its dance. Now, why it's doing its dance? Well, usually these motors here, they have a clutch in them so that they only turn one way, because they could start either direction. So if it starts the wrong way, it should stop it from turning so that it goes the other way. So it always goes this direction. So something in the motor is giving me trouble. So let's open it up and get the motor out of it and see why it's not functioning properly. The first thing I need to do is remove this decorative gear from the front, because I'm going to pull the back of the mechanism off. So I just pop this gear off. Should be able to lift this gear out. This is just a decorative gear, right? And the motor itself doesn't appear to be that tight, so that might be part of the problem. But let's just pop this gear off. If I can, it should just pop right off just like that. Okay, now I should be able to remove the nuts on the back and lift the motor assembly off. So we'll just undo these nuts. Probably would be easier maybe if I got a proper nut driver, but that's too much work. Okay. See, now this will spin freely. It also could be something hanging up on one of these gears too that's causing it, but these are turning freely. There's nothing binding on these gears. But definitely could use a good cleaning. I think at one point batteries, long before I got this, batteries went corroded. You can see some corrosion on here. So I think one of these batteries went leaked on it. It uses two D-sized batteries, but the batteries themselves are actually in parallel with each other, so it only runs on 1.5 volts. They put two batteries in parallel just to increase the current. So two screws I got to take out now for this bracket, and then it should lift off. In case you're wondering, this is a quartz movement. Even though it runs on a motor, there's a quartz oscillator and a driver circuit that drives this little DC motor. I have a wall clock that has a sweep second hand on it, and people look at it and say, "Oh, that's an old electric clock. It's plugged in." No, it's not. It's a quartz clock. It's battery powered. And they're like, "What? Aren't they supposed to tick once a second?" Not the new ones. This is a quartz drive mechanism, as you'll see once I get it open. Because we're going to tear this motor right apart. See why the gears are sticking. See if I can solve the problem. I gotta remove the wires from the battery compartment. They clip them off just because they gotta come out here so that I can lower this down. So we'll just warm up the iron and unsolder the batteries from the terminal. So now I've got the wires free. The mechanism should lift apart. Pop through like this. Take out this gear without having to take everything else apart. So now I've got the clock assembly, the gear assembly. You can just set that aside. This is the one that I want to lubricate and make sure that this motor is turning properly. Should be a one-way clutch inside the motor, so we're going to remove the motor from the unit itself. I'm going to pop this other gear off so that I can remove the motor. So that gear just lifts off like that. Put that gear over there. Okay, 2 screws should hold this motor down to the chassis. Now we need to open the motor up just to inspect it. So there's 3 screws on the back of the motor. I've got nuts on the other side, so we'll just put these ones over here so we know where they go. One screw is screwed into plastic, the other two have nuts on them. Okay, now the motor should pop apart without much effort. The back should just lift off of this thing. And I gotta be really careful of this because there'll be little gears in here that will go flying everywhere if I'm not careful. So I'm just gonna lift this off very, very carefully. And hopefully they're not plastic gears that have turned to mush. This gear goes on here. This little gear here sits next to it. Take out the coil assembly. That goes down this way. If we apply power to this, it should spin. It probably wouldn't hurt to and where the plastic metal contact gets made. just here. And power this up before putting it together and make sure that it's spinning correctly. It just takes 1.5 volts. I can dial my power supply down to 1.5 volts, no problem. See it turning now. So I'll put the screws back in the back of this unit. I'm stopping it to see if it'll start back up. Go the right direction. Good. If I try to make it go the other way, it'll always start up the right way, which is what we want. Okay, so let's start putting this thing back together. And there, that's how it goes in. And then there's a couple of screws that go through from the front. And then the wires went through the hole in the back here. This is to mesh with this is the one that actually turns the hands. Yeah, it's on. clean up the some of the bearings on this side. This gear here, for example, it's got some corrosion on it. I want to lubricate these because these ones could certainly cause it to stick. And it looks like battery has leaked out of here at one point. We'll clean it up first with some isopropanol. Just to keep things moving. And I see another bearing that probably should be lubricated is right here. These two. While I'm at it, I'll just talk about my son's experience with FedEx. He, I have to laugh. He ordered something from a vendor, and what he ordered was a jacket. And he didn't check on taxes and duties before ordering it from wherever he ordered it from. And he ordered a jacket and a watch with some band that he listens to logo on it. And we thought it was bad enough how much he had to pay to get the jacket and the watch. What he didn't realize was that there was going to be more charges coming in the mail. He got his bill from FedEx, and I shouldn't laugh because we've all been stung by the bandits at FedEx. But with their broker charges and their taxes and the excise tax and the GST and the PST and their fees, one fee after another, he ended up getting a bill for $220. And the item that he got didn't cost much more than that to combine between the two pieces he got. Wasn't much more than that to begin with. But he learned the hard way about broker fees and taxes and stuff. That's how that turns. And now I got to get the wires back into the bottom of the battery terminal and reconnect them, and hopefully that'll fix this one. Okay, wires are soldered back on for the batteries. Let's put the batteries in and observe that it works. Looks like it's turning the correct direction. Let this thing run for a bit. As I go get the face, I'm going to wash off the glass, clean it because it hasn't been cleaned in a while. So I get the Windex on there, get the glass cleaned up, and we'll put this thing back together. Then I can go hang it back on the wall in my office where it belongs. And there it is. Neat, huh? The Cogs of Time. I think that's what they called this one. Anyway, it's kind of neat. It cost me $5. So I think it did okay. Thanks for watching.